caution. I do not know anything about writing, directing, or acting. Whatever I say is from a fan. I love the show, and let's just get into it. I would have saved T-Dog. Why? So my reason is T-Dog was a miswrote character. He served a place from season 1 and then basically was forgotten. Or poorly wrote midway through season 2. He was the heart of the group just like Glenn, and every time you've seen him on the screen, he serves what the people we're watching felt in the moment. Kind of like a voice for the viewers. He was killed off in season 3, episode 4, titled Evil Within, while protecting Carol. So my idea is I think T-Dog could have definitely gotten more spotlight in his character. His sacrifice to Carol felt more like a waste. I think he should have been a major role, especially him being one of the only members left from the Atlanta group. He would have definitely been more interesting to see with Merle. I feel like he could have been a great fit with the group later, especially with characters such as Bob and Abraham. I think he would have had a lot of different ways to approach things, kind of like how Glenn approached things with the moral compass. And I think he should have filled the role the way Glenn died. And it's not to sacrifice him for Glenn's character. It's more of that I think his character dying and being killed by Negan would have been definitely more of an effect than anything than Glenn, especially since Glenn was very much a favorite character for a lot of people, and having him die off where it was like, oh, this is what we did in the comics, so we're just gonna do it, was it was such a bad decision, especially since they always try to stay away from the comics, such as things like Terminus. I think that his death would have been more impactful than Glenn's, especially since you see Glenn kill, and a lot of people put that idea in there that, oh, since that was the first time Glenn killed, it was one of Negan's men, that was breaking his code. But I think having Glenn kill someone and then seeing the guy who's always been about like being heart focused, and especially being a character lasting that long, being killed with Abraham and doing maybe more of a sacrifice than Glenn, and more of a beg for him to die over anyone else would have been a lot more heartfelt. So yeah, I think Carl should have never died. Reason. Everyone knows this is a huge mistake, and it's still talked about today. It's one of the worst pop culture decisions ever in media ever for a zombie show ever. I think, especially what they did to the actor Chandler Riggs himself, where he bought a house right there. Not even gonna talk about it. My idea, I don't even need to explain why. I Carl should have still been alive. But the idea I had for Carl is he never gets bit, obviously, but he becomes a bigger reason to Rick and why Rick makes the decision with Negan at the end. He doesn't only want to save Sadiq, he would also be going out of his way, especially after Negan comes and Rick finds out that he saved Sadiq. I think he would have definitely went down this darker path. Not dark in such as his morals, but I feel like his relationship with his father, especially Rick, I feel like he could have definitely went down this character arc where he's like, I'm my own man. I could save these people even if my father doesn't want to. And he starts saving a lot more people than just Sadiq. And I feel like him butting heads with Rick instead of getting killed off and being the reason why Rick changes his ideology over things. I think that would have been a much better drawn out story, especially seeing it through his eyes. I think he shouldn't have died because he was also the next generation, and killing off a character like that and then making Judith fill his role it's a very bad decision it's my opinion. That's how I feel. Fear's original director is never fired, the Clark family becomes the Whispers, and Nick never dies. Mouthful, I know. Why? Okay, so the original director had the idea of turning these characters like Madison, Nick, and them into the Whisperers, and it makes so much sense the way he was going about it, the way he did his things in season 2 to 3 to make Nick be more comfortable with putting Walker blood on and walking with a horde and hearing the voices and stuff. Definitely putting those patterns in there for us to pick up on and see these characters slowly over time become villains. It's so much more emotionally dragged out than what we got. I think Morgan should have still came to the show, but I think instead of having it switch point of views to Morgan, I think it would have been a better decision to have the Clark family stumble upon Morgan. Having Morgan's morals and the way everything was going on, he could have explained why he was there and what happened, and then we could have gotten the background in that shot with Rick. That could have been separately, but I think making it a Morgan show then ruined the entirety of Fear. Especially, I think that's the reason why Nick's original actor left the show. I think that he knew what Nick's purpose was, and when that director got fired, his purpose was lost. And especially the writing around the time, you can definitely tell it was going downhill. I think having Nick be the beta in the world is so much better. Having that like next gen kind of idea too, that what comes with Carl's character, and I think having a Carl versus Nick fight would have been so much better than a Daryl versus Beta fight. I think seeing two of the kids who grew up, even though Carl was younger, Nick was still just becoming an adult, having those two people grow up through this world and turn two separate ways is such a cool idea. And you wouldn't want those characters to die. Both Nick and Carl were fan favorites. It's some of the best writing you'd have probably seen in the entirety of the show. No World Beyond. Why? All right, so it's plain and simple. Those 2 seasons of World Beyond, no offense, I think the writing was poor, and I think if they didn't have those and they dropped more subtle hints inside of the major TV shows such as Fear and the normal Walking Dead, keeping the people who took Rick more of a mystery is so much more scarier than showing them on screen killing people. I think having the idea of not knowing how many numbers, who are these people, who are the leaders, what do they have, is so much more scarier than showing them on screen. I think we could have definitely had the ones who lived, and I think we could have shown the organization much more in detail with the ones who lived, and having Carl still be alive could have definitely been a good change, because then that would have made Rick strive even more to get back. Carl's death kind of made him suffer more than he should have, and seeing Rick in such a place like that makes his character feel so lost and abandoned. So I think No World Beyond, and I think we could have definitely used that budget to make the Fear and The Walking Dead normally. Those two shows have better budgets and more stuff to be able to have in their pocket to use instead of blowing all that money on a 2-season spin-off series. Before I move on to the next reason, I want to say this is all my opinion. I have no right or wrong decisions here. If you have a better idea for these characters or what they should have done or something I never even said, leave them in the comment section. I want this show to do the best it possibly could. I just think the writing over time has slowly got dwindled down, and I think the writing, especially from season 1 to 6 of The Walking Dead, was some of the best writing you'd ever see. The last reset, the end, or is it? So what I mean is, the way I would have done it, I would have ended The Walking Dead before putting on more spin-offs, especially. We could still have had a Daryl maybe spin-off, or some of those ones that they want to do, maybe even separate groups, and seeing them survive in other countries from the start day to where they're at now, or in other states or wherever. But the way I would end The Walking Dead. So this is my ending. My ending, like I said, I'm not a writer. This is just how I would have done it. I would have had Rick come back, and I would have had a big war, especially after the Whispers. I would have had a war between no Commonwealth yet. I would have had Commonwealth come in when Rick came back and had all of the kingdom, Alexandria, and all the leftover saviors, and all those people all fight in one big war over land and resources. And this is where the Walkers could really stand out, because we could take what they were doing in season 3 with the governor, and season 4, with the war that they had, and put it on such a bigger scale. Especially the budget would have been amazing, more practical effects. We could have seen multiple people on every side die, especially characters you could get to know about, in the ones who live with those people. And then also Commonwealth we could talk about inside of in The Walking Dead. Instead of having it, they already took over the Commonwealth. It could have been big three big groups of people all fighting, and all of this fighting could cause huge numbers of hordes coming towards them. So having the big death, having walkers really be more effective, especially variants. I think variants could have definitely been pushed way more, especially what they did in Fear and what they did in later seasons. I feel like walkers don't get enough attention as much as they used to. Having different shots of people getting shot and killed or exploded or eaten is, that's what they do really good and best, and I think a giant war like that would have been good. I think it would definitely nod back to what happened originally at the start. You see at the start of every series of in this apocalypse. I think having it go back to people are the main reason everything in society fell, and it wasn't just the walkers, is a good idea. Having walkers be there and really push that they, with the variants and everything, that they are a big problem, but making it that there's 3 different civilizations arguing and fighting over resources and stuff and land, and trying to be one big dictator, is basically way more entertaining than what we have right now. And I think having them all fight all at once, these 3 big, huge amounts of people in their civilizations fighting over this is so much more entertaining. And seeing what the governor probably done to them at the prison, but on such a bigger level, and having more than just a couple people, up to like hundreds to thousands of people fighting, is so much more entertaining. And I think they could have done one hell of a job with it at the war arc. Definitely. And I think having Rick and the people that are left over and Carl leave and then come back and rebuild after all the chaos is done, and leaning into the fact that they learned their mistakes and they've seen everything happen and unfold, and like learn from everything, and trying to make a better life for Judith, should be the main focus anymore. And I think it should have done a time skip, and they should have ended it the same way that the comics end it, with Rick dying and Carl taking his place. But this is just my ideas. It's my theory. It's my walking theory. No. So yeah, no, this is just some shit I had in my mind. All right, bye.